All right, what's up, class? Hope that you had a great fall break. You're trying to make the most of it. You probably hear my music in the background. I use like lo-fi hip hop. It's a bit more elevator music style right now. I'm curious for you guys, okay? Message me on Canvas because I really want to know if you guys are watching this. Some of you guys respond to it. There's a lot of you who never respond to these videos, so it really gives me cause for concern that you're never watching these videos. So I've got that in the background sometimes when I work. Do you listen to music at all when you study or work? Do you prefer it to be silent? What is the role of music with regard to the way in which you study and work? Send me a message on Canvas. Just message me on Canvas. Tell me about that in like 1 or 2 sentences. It helps me know that you're actually watching and paying attention to these lectures. So anyways, hope you guys have had a good fall break. We're on to Unit 8. Unit 8 is going to cover this particular section that you guys see in the Foundations book. I have seen some of you, and some of you have mentioned before that it feels just very repetitive, what we're kind of taking a look at right now. And it's intended to be that way. I want to make sure that we're focusing in on core aspects of missiology. I want to provide that foundation here at Level College, the undergraduate aspect, so that when you move further into the study of missions, you can use this to build upon other aspects. So this is very International Mission Board specific, but I believe that they've done a great job through the Foundations booklet as a means of helping us to provide that foundation for missiology. So this week we are discussing and taking a look at core values. You can see these core values right here. We all must be maturing disciples through humility, accountability, integrity, transparency, and sensitivity. There's a few things in here. For example, integrity. I hope that you guys are continuing to meet with your mentor and to have really good discussions related to the content of the class, and also as it pertains to life in missions and in ministry as well. I want to bring something over to help you out for Unit 8 with regard to some aspects of like discussion questions that you can have. This is super short. Look at it. This is humility, accountability, integrity, transparency, and sensitivity. That's the essence of what you have to read. But really, truly, the essence of what you're doing is meeting with the mentor and having really fruitful conversations. So I'm going to drag this over onto the screen to just show you guys something real quick. All right, it's not published yet. It's about to be published. But I've put right here under Unit 8 a discussion moment for Unit 8. And it actually says this: what talking points, questions are you creating for Unit 8? I've decided this week, I went through it and I wanted to show you if I was meeting with a mentor after having just read through that very short material. These are the kinds of questions that I would want to ask somebody who's in that role of a mentor with regard to introduction to mission, all things missions and ministry. So take a look at this. It says right here that I've provided for you guys, if I had a meeting with a mentor, this is what I'd ask. Okay, one of the core values in the IMB is humility. I'm an ambitious person. How do you balance ambition and humility in ministry? That's a great talking point right there. What about this one, the second bullet point? How many people do you have in your life that keep you in check? How many people do you think I should have in my life that help me to practice authentic humility? Talk about those aspects because it bleeds into also accountability, which is another one of those core values. This is a fun one if you dare to ask this question for someone you have been meeting with for several times so far. Do you think I'm humble? Do you think I'm humble? In our time together, what do you think I should be working on? I dare you to ask that of somebody else and see the kind of input that I hope that they would do so with love with regard to the way in which they can speak into your life. This next one right here, bullet point number 4, one of the core values of the IMB is accountability. So help me describe in an ideal situation in ministry that incorporates genuine accountability. What does that look like? having people that are checking on you with regard to your relationships with your significant others, your mental health, how people are checking on you with regard to maybe it could be anxiety and depression, your secret aspects of your life on your phone, your life on a laptop, the things about you that are prone to potentially be kept hidden. What does genuine accountability actually look like? Where it's like, it's not super ridiculous and legalistic, but it is incredibly helpful. That's a great conversation to have, especially with somebody who potentially is serving overseas in missions, because that can be something that's quite fascinating, this concept of accountability when you're serving overseas. Another core value is integrity. You should be asking your mentor, what are these common temptations in missions and in ministry that interfere with having legitimate integrity? Is it related to greed? Is it related to ulterior motives, personal ambition? Talk about those. What are the common temptations that exist there? What about transparency? Now, this one's a little bit long, but I want you to pay attention to this because this relates to serving, especially in a missions type of context. This is applicable for the pastor, the youth pastor, someone, even the lay person that's in ministry and is trying their best to share the gospel with people, but sometimes there will be safety and security concerns at play. So let me just read this out loud real quick. One of the core values of the IMB is transparency. This means honest communication that implies sincerity and transparency. In ministry and missions, sometimes you have to be strategic in the way that you share the gospel, especially in scenarios where safety and security are at risk. We got a lot of missionaries that serve in places like that. How do you go about being transparent about your reason for ministry and missions? I'm a minister or I'm a missionary, while at the same time being mindful of safety, security, or even just being sensitive to that relationship. So let's just say you're an ordinary person living here in the South somewhere, and you really do want to get people to know Jesus. So with regard to transparency, talk to your mentors about, so how early do I get to the gospel? How do I go about that? Are there any scenarios in which you kind of like strategically don't go so hard at the beginning? You know, there's going to be a variety of different opinions. I hope everybody's opinion will still land on the truth of the reality that people who are without Christ need Christ, and we need to proclaim Christ. But how we do that, 1 Peter 3:15, with gentleness and respect is important, especially in a missions context where there's going to be safety and security issues that will be at play sometimes. Okay? And then this last one, because it relates to sensitivity, which is that last one that you're going to look at for core values. My kids right now are dealing with, because they're in a public school, a lot of vulgarity. I deal with that in the worlds in which I live. How do you should be asking your mentor this. See, this, you could talk for hours about this stuff. How do you handle vulgar talk amongst other people? So we're Christians. We're engaging a lost world. The lost world acts in lost ways. How in the world do we go about it? How does your mentor go about it? Knowing that we're trying to transform people with the good news, but at the same time, they're functioning in lost ways, especially with the way in which they talk. How do we go about that? How do you handle that? I'd be really curious what your mentors have to say and how they could guide you as we're trying to engage a lost world for Christ, and we will experience nasty conversations and things like that that are just not pleasing to the Lord. What's our approach to those things? Because that is very much the case when you go and you serve over in other contexts. Quick story, it happened to me when I was serving as a missionary over in Malaysia that I had a guy who became a Christian who brought me to a place. Unfortunately, he was a former drug user and he had relapsed, and he took me to a place where, get this, he took me to a place of prostitution. And I only learned that at the tail end of it, and I grabbed him quickly and we got out of there immediately. So that's a scenario that was very real for me in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Of course, we need to run away from that. Exactly how do we go about evangelizing and discipling people who are coming out of the world in vulgar and in unsavory contexts while seeing them being conformed to Christ. This is why these core values are so important. One aspect of sensitivity for core values within the realm of missions is knowing that ethnically speaking, there are dividing lines everywhere. You go to another country, it is exactly the same like our country, where there are people who are divided ethnically. And as a result, there is prejudice and racism. Now, the wonderful good news is that Jesus is for all peoples. He came as a Jew to the Jews, and then he was also for the Gentiles, and he's for all peoples. We are to make disciples of all nations. Revelation 7, 9, and 10, that there is being built for God, a family of God from every tribe, tongue, language, and nation. Sensitivity involves knowing that sometimes you'll be put in scenarios in which this particular group is Christian. The group or people that you're in contact with, they're not Christian, but there's this added layer of ethnic tension. How do you go about it? How does the pastor go about it? How does the youth pastor go about it? That is a great question that you should be talking about. I'm really concerned for some of you that you have not taken full advantage of really engaging your mentor through this process. So learn from me. Take the information that you're learning from the Foundations booklet very seriously. Be a serious minister of the gospel no matter where the Lord is taking you. Learn to cultivate talking points and questions and have a great conversation so that it's going to continue to equip you, the saints, for the work of ministry wherever the Lord takes you. All right, that's enough for this week. This is Unit 8. Reach out to me if you have any questions. You'll see me via video for Unit 9 as well. God bless.